Good morning, dear viewers. I am Wang Yue. I'm currently at Yantai city of Shandong Province, and this is the Changdao Island. As you can see, behind me are some coral reefs. And this is also an important resting station for the West Pacific spotted seals. And you can now see from my perspective that there are about 4 to 5 spotted seals on the reefs. And today we have a special guest, my marine biologist, Professor Zhu from Shandong Marine University. Say hello to our viewers. Hello, everyone. You are an expert for spotted seals, so how is this particular seal different from the other seals? Well, the spotted seal here in Shandong is very special. It's specific in Liaodong Bay. And this is one of the 7 species of spotted seals around the world. And in terms of its genes, it's very specific to China. It's only born and raised and breed here in China and mostly in Bohai Bay as well. Well, as you mentioned, that this is a very active season for the spotted seals to migrate. So where do they come from? Well, this is like a resting station on the sea for the spotted seals. And they use it as a temporary resting place, and they will leave by May. But according to our study from 2019, we found that there are more and more permanent residents here, and they would no longer treat it as a resting place, but a permanent habitat. So you started research in 2019, right? Why do you decide to start your study on the spotted seals? Well, the Ministry of Agriculture and rural areas have opened up a special program in terms of the spotted seal, and they have opened up a research base, a research institute here. So we decided to come here. We were very excited when we first came here. The first time we came here, we saw 21 spotted seals here on the 2 reefs. So we were very excited the first time we see them. You said that for the first time you've seen 21 spotted seals, but most would not stay, right? Yes, as a marine mammal, they would foster this habit of migration. So most would migrate from place to place as the seasons change. However, if the ecological condition can meet their need and demand, they will probably choose not to migrate. So interesting for the past few years, we found a baby spotted seal of less than 1 year old, and last year we found another one, which means that the numbers of permanent residents increase here, especially the female spotted seals. But that's only a speculation of us. Well, if I'm understanding correctly, if the number of female spotted seals and also the cubs increase, which that would mean that the permanent residents increase, right? Yes, that's one sign. Because if the spotted seals choose this location as their breeding ground, it's more likely for them to stay here permanently or for longer times. Our impression of the spotty seals is that they are always laying lazily and at leisure on the reefs. So why do they, lay there all day? Well, it's actually the season for them to molt, which means that they need to change their fur. So exposure to sunlight will help them to molt and will also help them to kill pesticides if there is any. And it's also a very good way for them to rest. They barely move, as you can see. Yes, sometimes they stay very much alert. If they hear some noise, they would jump into the sea immediately. So they are highly alert species. Now we could see 4 seals behind us. Do they have like a hierarchy within their crowd? Well, according to our observation, yes, those with a stronger physique will have a higher position in their group. We could always observe the spotted seal swim onto the reef, so I imagine that would be quite difficult for them with such a chubby figure. Well, they would make full use of the momentum of the waves. And they would sometimes they could rely on their 4 flippers to climb up the reefs. Well, we could see a lot of spotted seals lying on the reefs. When we first came here, there are 21 spotted seals. So have you observed a bigger number? Well, that's the most number that I have observed. And we consider ourselves very lucky. The first time we came here, we saw 21 spotted seals. We heard that the cups of the spotted seals the colors are different. Is that correct? Yes, the grown-ups are with this kind of a grayish fur with spots on them. But when the baby seal was first born, they were in a color of snow white. Starting from 2 months old, they would develop this kind of spots on their fur. So if you observe them closely, you would see that the colors of the seals are not not quite identical with each other. Some with a brownish color, some are have more of a white blend to them. And it has to do with their age and the time they are exposed to the sun. Mostly for most of the time, the spotted seals would swim to the sea to forage, and when they are when they are full, they would climb up the reefs and to enjoy sunlight. It is quite a chubby creature, isn't it? Well, it's actually quite another unique feature to the Changdao Island spotted seals. They have a stronger physique because we have a very abundant fishing resources here. We have a lot of fish species here on the sea, so it's a very good natural habitat for them. So their life missions they include forage and breeding. And this would be a very nice location for them to do both. It is quite a clever creature, so you could see that it has a very good life philosophy, right? First of all, it would dive into the water to forage, to capture enough fish, to fill their stomach, and after that it would climb to the reefs and enjoy the beautiful sunlight. Very good life. In order to protect the spotted seals better, we have established this identification database for individuals. And using this database, we could also monitor their habit and some of their behaviors. We are also doing some DAA-related work. So let's talk more about their behaviors and habits. What's special about them? Well, not very much different from the other seals, and you could see them patting on their chest. And that's a sign of anger, actually, and because the flippers are so short, then when they're angry and when they're at war with others, they will not fight each other, but pounding on their own chest. Another behavior and typical habitat for them would be to stretch and yawn. It's like for humans. And it's a sign to show that they are sleepy and they want to take a nap. You could see some memes online about the seals, right? It's as if they were smiling. They were not actually smiling, it's just a typical facial expression of them. So you mentioned that you have established this individual identification database, but I would reckon that would be really difficult to tell one seal from another, right? Because they look quite identical. Yes, that's true. So we have tried multiple ways to do that, and at last we have used this facial recognition technology, or Face ID. After years of effort, we have discovered that this is quite effective. We could tell a seal from another from the display of the spots on their face, and we call this Face ID or facial recognition technology. In this way, we could tell the seals apart. So how many individuals are now identified? Altogether, 41 individual seals were recognized. So it is difficult to tell the males from the females. What is not that difficult, actually. As long as they are lying, with their stomach facing up, with their backs, if they lay on their backs, it would be more easy to recognize. But a lot of the times the seal would lay with their stomach on the ground, and would very difficult for us to recognize, because all the symbols are, like nipples or the reproductive organs are located on the stomach. So after each individual seal was identified, we would establish a profile for them. And if possible, we could also collect their DNA, so this would constitute a very comprehensive database. This will help us to better protect them. We could even tailor-made protective measures for each individual. So what is your plans next for your research? Well, I'm very interested in their breeding process. The Changdao Island area is no short of food. They will have abundant food resources, but we are keen to find out their breeding location. From the 2 years ago to about 1 year ago, we spot a new cub being born each year, but we do not know the exact breeding location or the birthplace for the baby seals. Do they, give birth to the seals on the reefs or on the ice? We do not know yet. If we can make sure that they breed here, does that mean that the breeding location have been moving to southern places? Well, yes, and it also means that the ecological condition of this place has been greatly improved. Are they a very fragile species, considering their breeding habit? Well, if we compare it to the other marine mammals, their breeding speed is slower. Historically, altogether, 4,000 spotted seals were identified, but with the overfishing, also the illegal hunting for them, their number of the species have been decreasing rapidly. That's why it is very important for us to protect them and protect our ecological environment. With improvement of ecological condition, the numbers of the crowd will also be increased. Thank you, Professor. We've learned that environmental protection is very important for the preservation of this beautiful species. So let's take a look at some of the policies adopted by the local government. Now you're looking at the Danglang Island. This is only 600 meters from the location we were a minute ago. So here we'd like to hear more about the protection measures taken by the local government. And today we have the honor to invite Mr. Yu with the local protection zone. So, Mr. Yu, as the director of the marine park, can you tell us more about the discovery of the spotted seals here? Well, we could actually see records of the spotted seals in some very ancient books, such as 本草纲目, and in the 1920s, there are also some sayings that the local, some of the old senior citizens here have tell us that they witnessed the appearance of spotted seals, and into the 2000 years, we have established this protection zone, this marine biology park, for the protection of spotted seals. This is actually a pelagio and with multiple islands. So there are a lot of spotted seal that will choose this place as a marine resting station on their route of migration. I'm very curious as to the ecological protection of the spotted seals. So why is it so important to protect the environment and ecology? Well, it's important for us to protect the ecology of the islands. Only in that way could the other marine species such as fish and shell develop better here, thus providing abundant food for the spotted seals. So what protection measures have you taken here in Long Island, in Changdao Island? First of all, we have built this ecological corridor for the spotted seals, and also we have better protected the habitat for them. And third, we have strengthened our monitor and research on the spotted seals. Can you be more specific as to these three aspects? For example, can you tell us more about the ecological corridor for migration? Well, the restoration of the ecological corridor is very key to our protection measures. We have sent out this special personnel and forces down to the seabed to study the ocean reefs. We first start by protecting the coral reefs here. With the better development of the reefs, more marine creatures such as fish and shells will develop here, thus providing enough food supply for the spotted seals. So there are a lot of various kinds of coral reefs. And also to better improve the ecology, we have also deployed the ecological reefs manually, artificially, so as to help with the development of the marine species here. So we have deployed the reefs of about 7 to 80 kilograms in weight. So can you tell us a total number for the deployment of ecological reefs? We have chosen 5 islands, and the total deployment species is about 40 to 50,000 square meters, and altogether about 50,000 pieces of reefs have been deployed. I would understand that the deployment of the reefs could help with the restoration of the marine ecological environment. Another measures that we have taken would be planting the seagrass beds. We are also working to restore the seagrass bed. Altogether, this amounts to 20 hectares. You talk about seagrass, and this actually is a very resilient plants underwater. It can grow and flourish 4 seasons around the year. So with the existence of seagrass, it would attract more fish and shrimp to come and breed and forage here. The development of the seagrass on the water, to my understanding, would help with the photosynthetic process as well, and will also improve the water quality. Am I understanding correctly? That is true. So what other measures have you taken? Well, another measure that we've taken is to release the fish fry. And altogether, we have released 160,000 fish fries into the water. So when the fish fry grow older and turn mature, they could become very ideal food resources for the spotted seals. Now the number of permanent residents here have grown to 7. And if they have abundant food resources, they will probably choose to stay here longer or permanently. On a daily basis, we would carry out surveillance with ride boats to carry out a surveillance mission. And we would also expel the ship from coming too near to the reefs. That is the habitat for the spotted seal, so as not to disperse them. We have also deployed drones to carry out the surveillance. Can you tell us more about your daily surveillance mission? Do you go around the reefs every day? Well, yes, basically. We would get on board the ship to do circles around the reefs to check out their numbers, to expel the intruding ships into their habitat. And we will also do some scientific monitoring. So it's a dual mission with a scientific mission and also surveillance mission. So what's the radar for? Well, it's mostly for the monitoring of the intruding trips. This is a very big reserve area, so we have set up this radar to cover the entire reserve. If the fishing boats come too near to the habitat of the spotted seal, we would send out signals to expel them and make sure that the migration of the spotted seal will not be disturbed. We also have deployed drones to do these unmanned missions of surveillance. We would also use the drone to do some scientific monitoring. For example, from last year, we would deploy drones, especially during the migration season, and they would carry out 4 surveillance missions on a daily basis. On the regular days, we would carry out 2 missions on a daily basis. But if we deploy the drone at night, will they be able to see anything? Well, of course, we would use this thermal imaging technology, and they would spot the numbers of these spotted seals very clearly, because their body temperature is different from the temperature of the reefs, right? Yes, so using the thermal imaging technology, we could spot the we could observe the spotted seal very clearly. A lot of technologies have been used, for example, the individual identification database mentioned by the professor, and also the drone thermal imaging technology. In the non-migration season, we have spotted altogether 14 seals, and 7 of them are permanent residents for us. The spotted seals in the other areas might also migrate here, or they just pay each other a visit during the non-migration season. And so the drones can help us to know those information in a very timely fashion. There are also monitoring cameras, but mostly they are done manually. We could use our cell phones to take pictures or videos. So that information could be handled very timely. Well, as you mentioned, a lot of technology is being used, the radar, the drone, the database. And what is your next plan concerning the protection of the spotted seals? Well, this is a provincial level reserve for the protection of spotted seals. And in the Changdao Island, there is also a national protection zone and also a geological protection zone. Altogether, there are 7 reserve protection zones here, and they will be integrated into one big national level protection area. And we are striking to become the #1 marine protection zone for marine species. So it's not only about the protection of spotted seals, but the entire marine species here, including the spotted seals, different types of fish. They are all flagship animals, flagship creatures. And it's also about the ecological environment and the island cultures and so on. So there's so much more than the protection of spotted seals. You're aiming at protecting the entire marine ecological system here. Thank you, Mr. Yu, for that introduction. With the manual labor and high technology being deployed, the people here are aiming at protecting this lovely creature, this beautiful environment, and also the ecological environment here.